Meeting today canceled? Never the first one. Fine.
Dang it, I did a lot.
Hi there.
Hi.
Is there a code for this?
No, I just come in the other door.
Oh.
Well, it's, I don't know, always force a habit, I don't know.
That's okay.
Oh, God, we're on computer, we're on TV.
Well, this has been an eventful day.
Oh, yeah, you got the whole,
I got 2 meetings down and 2 more to go.
oh, you're getting all of them today?
I gotta get my feet wet.
Oh, wow, wow.
Now, that won't happen every week, but the first week it does. It's amazing what the city gets itself into.
Oh, my God.
I agree.
Sorry.
39 pages
39 pages.
of supporting documents
For what?
for tonight's meeting.
Oh.
I was waiting at the copier going, 17, 8.
Can we get this to move along?
I was like, I'm gonna leave early, because I don't wanna deal with the Strovis Road, and I have a meeting tonight. So I left early enough, I thought I'd be here earlier, oh no, the roads were just like crap.
Yeah.
We drove in, we flew into from Vegas last night and drove the roads coming here
Hmm.
from
Oh,
like
God.
6 to 8, 2 hours.
Oh, no. Yeah, yeah.
It's been fun, isn't it?
I know, it's like, well, I think we just all got used to
We
summer,
did.
spring.
And the problem with that is,
I'm like, oh, this is like real winter.
I remember this.
But do I?
Oh, I do, but I wish I didn't.
I don't know if I didn't print out all 38
I just did.
last week.
Okay. Put that there, that's good.
I print everything out when I'm at school, because
Yeah, why not?
I'm at school. And I end up putting it with my lesson plan.
Uh-oh.
I like being on camera.
I got you.
Are we already set up?
You guys sit in there.
Well, I'll behave as you are.
I know, now I have to like watch what I say, because I say a lot of things under your,
Okay, Andy. And of course,
Hey, are you a notary? You're not a notary.
Yeah, they changed the rules and we decided,
I wonder if somebody's here for notary.
oh, I'm sure somebody is.
Before they leave, let me do this.
Okay.
Today's lesson is,
Well, Kelly was our committee chair, so we need to appoint a new one. It's a take note. Have a copy of the planning board priority list?
no, those 17 items,
Yes, there were 17 items.
I don't think I brought them.
Okay.
You know, I printed off before I left it work.
And I printed it so that I could actually read it.
Yeah,
Hi.
color coded one, right?
The
Yeah.
color coded one. How are you?
Good, how are you?
Just getting, I did the dermatologist gave me some creams to, put it on twice a day for 3 weeks.
Yeah.
This seems to be a little red. So these are all the areas that I could get melanoma.
Oh, my God.
It's really chemotherapy.
Oh, good. Wow, that's,
So you know what it feels like when you get a sunburn and then blisters and it itches because there's moisture under the skin.
Yeah.
That's what my whole face feels like.
Honestly, I get similar kind of reactions on my feet and occasionally right here in that same spot, and like,
From skiing, I burned a lot here. So
yeah.
it's kind of, I burned a lot as a kid, a lot. I lived on the beach.
Right.
I surfed, my back peeled and blistered and peeled. And after all of that, I have one basal cell carcinoma, like right above my bikini.
Well,
One.
be a lot worse, that's
Oh,
for sure.
you still have your giraffe?
We got a new member?
Yep. New mayor. Hi.
So it's always shocking that none of that mattered at all.
Yeah. No kidding.
Hi, sweetheart. Fine, how are you? Oh, I had to pick up my boys today. They had been in jail.
Just cut.
So how's Vegas?
It was fine, you know, I haven't been downtown since they covered the street, probably 45 years ago. And all I can say is it's loud. We were on the 11th floor and it was very loud
You're good.
still, like all night long.
I wasn't real pleased with the last few years. I mean, when they first put the cover on, it was pretty cool because they had Air Force jets zipping around, you know, and.
There were people zip lining down
Yeah.
the street.
Yeah, it wasn't-
And now it's bands all over down there with lots of drums.
Yeah.
And, yeah, and, you know, marijuana places, and, I mean, the whole thing is like,
It's not the same.
no, and we usually stay at Palace Station,
Yeah,
because they have a really nice oyster bar and all of that, and,
that's right off the strip, right?
oh, we have nowhere near the strip.
Yeah.
Pretty ugly.
Well, I wanted to get this, I need to get this. done.
Okay, well, we need to nominate a new chair. Since you're taking notes, so you're
I'll take-
busy.
I'll take notes, I don't mind.
Well, Doug, why don't you be the chair?
I have no clue what that entails. I don't even know what land use does.
Okay. Are you a chair for the other one too?
I am a chair for the other one.
Okay.
I guess I could be a chair for both.
You'd make a better chair than me.
Okay,
Feels like,
well then,
I
fine.
can't.
Fine.
You do such a great job though.
Well, it's easier for me.
But they know it in and out.
I was like, of all the committees, I feel like this is one that.
This is the one that, okay.
So, yeah, like, I'll say it again, you will do a much better job than I could do, but you would sit there and correct me and correct me.
Oh, wow, there's a lot on this.
Okay, and the minutes, did you get a chance to look at the minutes?
Yeah.
And,
If I look, I mean, it's funny. Sometimes me, I look.
okay. I move to approve. Do you want a second?
I second.
Should we vote? Aye, aye?
Aye.
Okay. Wait, got two things done. Committee chair, approval of the minutes. To the new committee.
Welcome.
Aye.
Committee. Got you.
Okay, the land use, the planning board, priority list, we discussed, we added a couple new ones. I had done some color coding based on what we had talked about. And, then I blew it up because I couldn't read the little tiny. I mean, come on,
No, yep,
it was silly.
it was very challenging, I agree.
This is what we got, this is what we have now.
That's too tiny.
Well, I had mine on my phone, and it was, I blow it up, but then by blowing it up, then I have to like,
Get
all
in it.
the way over.
Not exactly
It was
efficient,
not
is it?
much
No.
fun.
Not much.
So the ones that are pink that are highlighted for priority are three that we absolutely have to do, which is to review the state regulations, to make sure that our zoning is in compliance with the new rules.
Correct.
We have to do, I don't have that here. Are those the highest priority?
I think it was,
I think I got
the
it all.
charter was, or ensuring that we're in alignment with the charter or the state.
Where did that come? Yeah, these need to be, oh, that was number one, period.
Yes,
Should be, yeah.
one.
And because of that, the minimum lot size was part of what the state declared. So they said that the minimum lot size now is 2,500 square feet.
Right.
Where our zoning says 5,000. And the other top priority was to define what the workforce housing, what is the role of the planning board in workforce housing? And so they can do that. Then, obviously, those are pretty quick
Yeah.
fixes.
What it looks like.
Okay.
And then, of course, we have,
I know, all my notes are on it from last week.
then, of course, we have the downtown revitalization plan. That's actually, we got a grant for Great West to help us with the downtown revitalization plan and the growth policy.
Got it?
Thank you. Growth policy has to be done every 5 years. The downtown plan is just a preferable thing that we want to do.
And that was in, what, 10 years ago, was the last?
Yeah,
Yeah.
the revitalization was really old.
Yeah.
And included in that kind of group is when the airport master plan comes out, the planning board needs to review that, but we don't have it yet, but sometime this year. Accessory dwelling unit and dwelling structure definition. The problem with the ADUs is the planning board felt that an ADU was an accessory dwelling unit. So in every zone in Red Lodge, you can build an accessory dwelling unit. It has a limit on how many square feet you can make it. And by unit, we meant one. Well, apparently it came up that somebody wanted to do an ADU, 2-story, that housed two different.
Mm.
And
One structure, two.
so the question came to the planning board is the definition for an ADU.
Mm-hmm.
And they did feel that a unit was a unit, not units. It's not an ADU defined by the building, but by the number of families or occupants kind of thing. But they need to get that into the zoning and fixed so that they can do that. And urban RV park and camping zoning review, I'm not sure that it's hit Red Lodge like it has Bozeman.
Of course, yeah, no.
Yes.
Just drive through Bozeman, you can see a big difference.
And so, but it's something that I think that the planning board needs to definitely review what we have. Is it sufficient? And I did send everybody on the city council the lawsuit that Boise lost,
Right.
trying,
But we've got something in place that says it's not allowed.
doesn't matter, Boise had it too.
Well, I mean, I can't worry about Boise. All I
But they
mean-
lost with,
I
in
know,
court.
What
again,
was, I didn't get a chance to look through it, but what was, did they?
I think it was a violation of the 8th Amendment of the Constitution, that if you cannot provide housing for the homeless, then they can be homeless anywhere on city-owned property.
Okay, so we need to ensure that we have something, some sort of accommodation or something in place.
And
to-
maybe talk to the churches and see if, we don't have that problem, but during the summer, I could see it.
Well, and I may not see it now, but in a few years, possibly, it may become a larger problem unless we have some kind of directive on how we're gonna go forth with it.
She waits all day to call me.
Murphy's Law.
How we roll. Now she calls back.
Anyway, so it's just something that I think that the planning board needs to review what we have.
So what we have in place, for some reason, we felt it was sufficient, but maybe we're suggesting it isn't sufficient.
You know what?
challenged.
It can be easily challenged, and I think there's a lot of gray area, and it needs to be, we need to make sure that we can clean it up, the verbiage clean up, so that there's no loss of interpretation.
Yeah, and at least discourage it because of that. I
Right.
mean, we do have some rules for RVs that are parked on city-owned properties,
Okay.
you know,
Is
on the
there-
streets and how long they
Is
can
there any
stay there.
ordinance about an RV being parked on Main Street?
No, not on Main Street.
There's no, I mean, obviously overnight is nil, like there's no.
Because there is a limit to how long you're
Right.
supposed to, whether or not they
But
enforce
whether or
that.
not,
No, there doesn't say
parking.
no parking on Broadway of
Okay.
an RV.
okay, okay.
There are wayfinding signs that send them over to the Civic Center.
Correct, I just was curious, I mean, I've seen.
But what happens is friends come for
Mhm.
the summer, park their RV in front of the house of the people they know, they drape a cord over the
Mhm.
sidewalk
Mhm.
for power. And I think that the regulation is that they can stay for 1 week.
Oh, my. And I know one of the main complaints was it infringes on neighbors'
Parking.
parking,
Well, the court's a
noise.
hazard,
Yeah, though, well, the cords are
yeah. that's-
definitely not
Generators are loud.
noisy.
Yeah, so, yeah, there's a lot that needs, unfortunately, there's a lot that needs to be cleaned up.
And I think that's really what they need to do.
Kind of confusing.
Well, also, if, I think we should tag on and please run it by legal to make sure that we don't have a Bozeman issue.
Exactly. Yeah, and homeless is one thing, visitors, I think, are another. I think that the problem in Bozeman, from what I've heard, is literally
Yeah.
tenting, yeah,
And,
Tent communities.
tent
yeah,
communities.
which, that's where, like I said, the loss of interpretation, where we may allow it overnight or in a certain location, like, let's say we allow it up by, like, what's it, Miners Park, the baseball field,
And see, they're
and
really,
then all of a sudden now it's just gonna,
Be a city.
right now,
yeah.
as far as I know, you have to get a permit to
Mhm.
use city-owned land.
Okay.
And that, like when the bicyclists come in,
Mhm.
and they do that, they have to get a permit for use of city-owned
Yeah.
land.
I think the hardest part, and this is where we noticed it prior when I was on health and safety, was just the policing of it.
Yeah.
And
Right.
that's where, we don't really have the manpower to.
To do
ensure.
that, and bathrooms, I mean, it all
All of
ties
it,
in.
yeah, so if we can just,
So I think that needs to stay there.
yep,
The ones that we added was the annexation requirements procedure.
yeah, I just wrote annex down, but annex.
To give you an idea, this morning in public health and safety, the discussion was that our police departments that are being paid out of our general fund also services Remington Ranch and Woodlands, both of which have city sewer, but they're not in the city limits. And maybe we should annex them, but they have to do a cost analysis, because basically when you annex something, you're supposed to provide water service. And, yeah, and they're all on wells, and it's not just Remington Ranch, it's really Grandview and Grandview South. Those are the half acres and the 3/4 acre parcels, not the ones that are 3 acres or 20 acres, but the ones that are more dense.
Yes,
Those were approved with the option that we could ask them to annex in. Woodlands on Rock Creek is off of 2 Mile Bridge Road,
okay,
right below the sewer pond,
yep,
and they have our sewer,
are they not annexed?
they're not annexed.
Yeah, and it's, considering how tight we are as a city on funds, that's an area that we're exposed. We're giving away free services and we're not getting anything in back.
Well, they pay their sewer bills, they pay for the hookups, but it's minimal.
Yeah,
Right.
that's,
The question is, if there's a new build out there and we have to provide water, what's that gonna cost?
Right, so we need, I think, was that one of, well, I think that was on my public works
I
discussion.
was gonna say public
impact
works,
fee.
we're gonna discuss what the cost would be to bring water in on Grandview, because a lot of those lots are still unbuilt.
And I wonder if that's one of the reasons is.
No, the water table up there is really, really high.
Okay,
And they have, it's a huge aquifer. There's plenty of water up
Right.
there. The problem is it's not city water. If we could annex them and say, yeah, but you're gonna get police service, they're gonna say, well, we already.
for free.
Yeah.
It's for free. They're getting it for free.
Okay.
Because obviously the police department and the sheriff's department work together, whoever's closest handles
So
everything.
if there is any issue up there, is it handled, does it get handled by the city, or does it get handled by the county?
Whoever's closest.
No kidding.
Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah, our police department goes south,
You're right.
you know, they go north, they,
Well, we need to figure out some mechanism to charge them for our police patrolling and protecting their neighborhoods.
we asked Chief Schrock today to give us an idea what percentage of the police department services those areas.
Okay.
And he's gonna look at, 2023. He
Mhm.
thinks it'd be an easy thing to do.
Okay.
But it would be interesting to find out that if, 20% of their time is servicing areas that are not in the city limits on a regular basis. I'm talking about the odd ones, but.
Right.
Yeah, somehow we just have to figure out a legal way to charge them.
Well, and that's where I'm curious, because I know there's just personal experience of speaking to some of the residents up there. I know there will be a huge pushback if we try to annex. A lot of them built in that location strictly because it was not annexed.
Then would they
But-
feel bad if we charge them
And
for
that's
police?
where I'm like, so then if you don't want to be annexed, but here is a service charge,
The
Right.
subdivision was approved on the basis that if we chose to annex them,
we can.
we can annex
Okay.
them. They can scream all they want.
That's right.
That's the way it works.
Okay.
They got city sewer,
Mm-hmm.
Is it the same with Woodlands over there?
exactly the same with Woodland. If they wanted our city services, they had to agree to annexation when the city chose. Now, sitting on the planning board for 12 years, the different planners always said that the amount of property tax that you would get from them
Mm-hmm.
would nowhere near cover the cost of bringing city services in. But both of them already have sewer, so we're only talking water. And I don't think that anybody that currently has a well is going to switch over to city water so they can pay for water.
No.
Especially if they have to pay an impact fee to do it.
No.
And an impact fee.
Yeah.
But the new people they might have to look at that and say, let's see, 4,000 for a well, or,
Like, it's one thing if it's annexed, would it be in a different zoning district where you would be allowed to have a well?
it would have to be zoned.
Yeah.
Well, even the golf course is allowed to have a well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We can,
So anyway, that annexation is gonna need to come a little bit higher on the
okay.
planning
Yeah.
board.
I have it,
radar?
I think I have it like the fourth one down,
Yeah, I just have it in green. I went ahead and
color coded.
color-coded
Yeah.
ABNC.
That's fine.
Jody did respond to the request, but nobody else did.
I'm looking at it right now. Sorry. I'm not used to using Google for my email, and I don't like how it puts all the attachments at the bottom.
Mm-hmm.
I never see anything.
And
just
I'm
like,
used to that,
yeah, and all mine are always right there at the top, so
And building on city-owned land
Mm-hmm. Building
was one, of
procedures.
course, that I brought up
Mm-hmm.
because of what I felt was happening with the, observatory. The procedure is that Teresa went to the Parks Board to get permission,
Mm-hmm.
approval of building an observatory on city-owned land. Then the city council, she was on the city council, recused herself, but they passed a resolution for allowing her to put a structure
Right.
on city-owned land. But the resolution said it was going to be 10 by 20. And then it went to the building department with no regulations whatsoever, none. So the slab is 2 or 3 times bigger than that because she didn't want to trample the grass. And the other thing, probably bigger than that, is that it wasn't fully funded when she began the project. So she began building without it being fully funded. And there's no maintenance fund either. So the MOU that allows her to use that can be canceled on either side with a 2-week notice. So if the group decided to disband right now, they could give us a 2-week notice, and that observatory is ours to maintain.
we have one building.
Yeah. And of course, I've heard a lot of complaints because it's not open to the public. You have to actually make a reservation type of thing because somebody from the Hero Steam Project has to go up there, unlock it, and
Right.
to use the telescope,
Yeah,
so,
my son's astronomy class doesn't use it.
yeah. Yeah, and it's a great thing. It's
They
just,
don't,
oh, they're not gonna use it?
they don't use it. They go somewhere, they go,
Out of the
There.
lights, yeah, it's a terrible location.
my,
But I just think the planning board should have some rules on building on city-owned
No
land.
doubt.
well, there definitely needs to be some sort of SOP on that. Just because, and it's not only, I feel like, not only for the building procedures for the land, but I feel like for all of it, I feel like there needs to be some kind of more transparency with what city owns, when, what kind of properties, and what sort of.
Who owns it, who maintains it?
Who maintains it, where the funding comes from, is it an equal share type thing, like how are we, like, being compensated for it, or is it just allowing them to use it in some capacity?
It's my understanding that an MOU is free
Mm-hmm.
because they're actually supposed to maintain it.
Okay.
And obviously it can be canceled and terminated.
Mm-hmm.
If in fact they charge, to me, that's a lease. That's the
Okay.
difference between an MOU and a lease.
Gotcha.
I think a lease is if they're gonna charge for that service,
Mhm.
Then, yeah.
then that's a lease. They're leasing, you know, for profit. I can't see that there's any way around that. But right now, there's no regulations at all for building on city-owned land.
Therein lies the problem right there.
Yeah.
That was the problem with this project, but there could be others as
Sure.
well.
And like we were, one of our discussions was for like the Lions Park, or putting in some sort of gazebo, or a covering over the ice skating rink had been presented at some point, so, yeah.
Yeah,
If we can have something in place.
I think that the planning board needs to look over the project, and then those documents would go to the building department once the city council approves it. You know, and unfortunately, all of that was skipped and went straight to building, and there was no, she could have built anything she wanted up there, because there was nothing to say you couldn't.
Yeah.
And basically, she did.
Okay.
So I think that, and the other reason I'd like to put it in the green category is if in fact we get to the point where we can use city-owned land for workforce housing, again, we're gonna need to really look at it, because the city owns land that might be usable for workforce housing.
Well, I just think we need to learn from this mistake.
Yes,
This is very serious.
yeah, but we need to also think of all the repercussions of not having regulations.
Right, yep, so if we can move,
Yeah.
So that's definitely green.
So those are the ones that we had in green, and then the next ones up, the second priority we had, let's see, we've already done hot, medium. The last ones that they had on their list, which was actually pretty high on Al's and Jeff's, Marie's was 11 out of 16, mine was 16. Was to revisit the outdoor advertising clarification in the historic district. It failed at the city council last year, and they want to revisit it.
which, I don't know why they need to revisit it when the city council already shut it down more.
Well, I think the city council shut it down because the outdoor advertising was defined as anything in the window facing outwards.
Hmm.
And I think that was a huge, oh no, actually, an oh, hell no.
Well, and it was, and there were,
The room was full.
The room was full. It had all of the, business owners that I had no idea owned half the businesses. And I was one of the people that shut it down, and the main reason that I voted no was, yes, because it infringed on their rights on what they could have, like,
In their window.
in their window, like, what they have in their business indoors. I felt like that was
Taboo.
But then the bigger issue with that whole ordinance was that it was an ordinance that was 87 pages long, and they tried to slide a whole bunch of other ordinances inside of it.
On short-term
On
rentals.
short-term rentals, there were a few other things that had absolutely, like, I didn't understand how one was related to the other, but yet still wanted to be in one ordinance. So
And they want to revisit the short-term rental too. I think they realized that it was a mistake putting the two together
yeah,
in front of the city council.
Yeah.
And because of that, and all the time they spent on that, which is why now we are the ones telling the planning board what we'd like them to do. And I did get some emails from Al and Jeff that basically said some of these were originated by Courtney, that Courtney felt the planning board, so she was actually guiding the planning board what to do. They did it, it came to city council, and boom, got shut down. So it's much better to start at city council,
agreed.
letting the planning board know what we would like them to do, and there's a better chance of it passing.
So I say we keep it because, I say we,
Oh, it's there on the list,
but I say we keep it
lower.
at the lower.
I agree.
And same with the STR, rules and regulations, that also failed as a group. And, that one, it looks like they felt it was a little higher, but not much. They rated 4. But I see Marie and Teresa rated it 12. There's been so many regulations on short-term rentals in the last 2 years that we
How do
haven't
we
had
even
a
have a-
chance to see
Yeah.
how it's going, and we're just now starting to get numbers and stuff. So to add any more, or subtract any more, or do anything, let's
need
see
a-
where we
Yeah,
are.
collect some data on it as is.
Push the pause button on that.
Okay, good. Now, the allowed use tables and definitions updates. I was on that subcommittee for the planning board, even though I wasn't on a planning board. And they literally are going through every conceivable possible use of city-owned land and zoning it in different areas. And it's a massive undertaking. We've had a ton of work on it. And I'm uncomfortable and have been from the beginning on the way that they're doing it, because the way our zoning looks is different from the way they're presenting it. And that's why the planning board isn't doing it. I don't even know how to explain how bizarre it is.
Are they still doing like?
Well,
our-
they put a pause on it
Okay.
because they're waiting. And to give you an idea, the way it works in zoning is you've got an allowed uses table, and then you have an accessory use. So you don't need permission to do those. These, it's a conditional use, now it's coming in front of the planning board. Well, they're talking about expanding these like maybe 4 times as much. It's absolutely, to me, ridiculous.
Okay.
The deal is, if it's not on here, it's not allowed. It's really simple. If it's not here, it's not allowed.
Okay.
But they also had on here to do a not allowed list.
A lot, and a prohibited list.
Yeah.
I feel like that would just be the world's longest,
Our zoning code is already, what, 200 and some odd pages?
like, why would we add a whole nother
No.
200 plus pages of?
It would seem to me that if it's not on here, then it's not allowed. That's the way it is now. Why?
Or it's a provisionary, or they need approval.
Yeah, basically, that's what it is.
Okay.
You can with permission, everything else you can't. It's
Well,
pretty straightforward, the way it is, and I
So
think that,
why, are they giving any sort of reason to why they want to
well, that,
are they being
it was
presented
actually
to
put on
something?
hold.
Mhm.
It was put on hold, and it was, Jeff, Al, myself, and Teresa that were working on these massive lists, trying to figure out where they would be allowed or not allowed. And it just,
Yeah.
it went down to agriculture, you know. You know,
And I sat in on a couple of those meetings as well, like, it's, again, a lot of redundancy and just, I think, again, that was a Courtney project, because she specifically said, she's like, I'll have people come and ask me what they can and cannot do,
it's
and I don't
not-
have an answer, and it's
Well,
like, but you do.
You do, right there.
Well, she says it's not on the list, but it's kind of close enough, you know, type of thing. But honestly, I mean, we're just still making a list of things. We haven't even gotten through definitions of those things, let alone where to put them in zoning. It could take it could take a year to do that. I
Yeah, I
don't
don't-
think it's the best use
No.
of
I don't
the
either.
planning board's time,
Not even close, no.
which is why,
I say we have what's in place. I mean, there's room for some of the gray areas of permissible usage.
yeah,
Like, you know, if it's in that gray area of what you're trying to do, ask for it.
yeah,
And then we'll address it.
yeah.
But to go down and think of every different scenario or location or possibility is just,
And the definition.
100%.
And then they're throwing out definitions that they've got from here, there, and they're all, it's a massive,
It's a waste of time.
I don't think it's a good use of time.
There you go.
How's
And I
that?
think until the downtown revitalization plan and some of those other
The
things,
growth policy.
yeah, until you have that direction to actually be,
Able to figure out whether zoning, what our
Yeah.
plan is
I
downtown.
like that,
Right.
Chelsea, I think that's a really.
that's the crucial
good
piece with
point.
like all of this
Right,
on
and I think
here.
that was the first one, isn't it, to figure
Yeah.
out the downtown revitalization, well, first.
Well, it has to be done,
Yeah,
yeah.
so like that, I feel like a lot of this can't really come into play until that is done.
Yeah, and that's why it's way down on the list. And review the wireless communication facility zone. I don't see the big rush for that.
No.
I don't either.
And I was trying to think of this list as what priorities for the next 1 year. So the next year, start with the ones that have to be done,
Yep.
and then the ones that we'd like to have done. But I don't see that as something we have to do this year. Sexually oriented businesses, from my time on the planning board, we're told that we have to have a location for a sexually oriented business. And so I think this was back to either James or maybe Forrest, that far back with our planners. We found one spot. It's the Berkshire Hathaway
Yep.
building, where it's the right number of feet from childcare, from schools, from churches. It was the whole thing.
Throwing up poles.
And so I don't know why we want to look at it again, frankly.
No,
If we have it come in front of us, we're gonna have to deal with it at that time.
and that's what we will, but for now.
And we do
no.
have it, it's in zoning, okay. And the last one is a citywide noise level review.
So this one, I just had this discussion with some people the other day. We already have noise ordinances
Ordinances.
currently, right?
Yeah.
Correct. And again, it comes down to policing it. Comes down to who's going to be the one.
Enforcement.
And,
the
and
enforcement.
if somebody calls in and says, this whatever's loud,
Mhm.
the police will go out and follow up on it.
Yes.
You know?
I don't think that one they,
No.
I don't know why the planning board would have anything to do with the noise.
Just because it's in zoning, that's really
I
it.
really need one on my phone.
So that's it.
I don't think we have a problem
No, we don't.
with the current noise.
Okay, well, you
I
know,
don't
like I
think
said,
so either. Again, we have an enforcement issue across all courts.
And that's where I feel like it's an enforcement issue. But then again, that comes back to
Money.
money.
Right.
And then it comes back to where to get the
Anyhow,
money.
it's not gonna be on this list,
Annexation.
so let's move on.
Yeah,
Agreed.
exactly. Okay, well, I think that we're all kind of in the same spot
Yep.
there.
Okay, so the ones that you do not have colored, I just,
I threw out, well, I didn't understand.
okay.
I threw out the prohibited list, prohibited use
Mhm.
list because it was redundant.
Yeah.
Right.
The urban
Do we
marijuana
ever-
commercial cultivation,
Did we figure out what that meant?
we don't know whether the state requires us to, but we're not an agricultural town.
Right, so that's where,
I figure that they can come in and slap our hands because we haven't zoned cultivation of marijuana
No.
in the city limits.
no, we're not there.
The multi-dwelling, multiplex clarification,
Mhm.
I did get, emails from Jeff and Al, and I'm sure I printed it out.
Somewhere.
What's on?
Okay, maybe I didn't.
Mhm.
They just said that there was a difference between multi-dwelling and a multiplex.
Mhm.
Clarification, I think that they're struggling with words.
Yeah.
That's all it is.
I mean, to me, a multi-dwelling and a multiplex are the same thing. one dwelling with multiple,
Right.
so I don't
Multiplex
know.
imply that it can be used for
Jeff,
multiple
Did
things.
they
other
try
than-
Googling this?
well, again,
How they got confused in the first place.
when you look for definitions, they're all different.
Are we using
Yeah.
Wikipedia?
Right.
Okay, stop that. I can read it to you. It was,
Not worth our time, let's move on.
okay,
I mean, we're all in agreement, right?
No, absolutely, because I'm like,
we don't see that,
it just comes down to terminology.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, words.
Yep.
Rocky Fork Inn, grant match options, resolution will be needed. Well, let's see, Dave already said that 75% of the appraised value prior to the flood
Mm-hmm.
was gonna be covered by FEMA, and 12.5% of that last 25 was
Right.
covered by some sort of state. And the other 12.5, he was going to check to see if we can use in-kind services.
And what did he said that, was that in an email?
No, I think that's part of our, he's gonna clarify that tonight.
Okay.
Yeah, he was gonna bring something back tonight.
Yeah, he's gonna bring something back tonight on
On
that,
that 12%, 12.
Okay.
12.5%. I mean, we've already done federal and state.
Yeah.
I hate that we're down to city.
You know,
You know,
shoot, we're already here. Okay, that's
county be next.
Yeah, there's the county.
Okay, so there's nothing we can do there. Consider additional park, rodeo park, potential MOU versus lease. Now, keep in mind that Dave and Jody drew up this agenda,
Mm-hmm.
After I left town.
I'm going off of your current agenda that you sent me.
Oh, well, I
Pulled
just went and printed out the ones that they have attached.
Okay.
I'll
Well,
give,
where are you
I'll give
reading
you
this?
this when I'm done.
Okay.
I'm imagining that what he means by an additional park, rodeo park, is that entrance to the rodeo grounds. Maybe both sides of the rodeo road, and calling that whole thing rodeo park.
Rodeo Park?
And then having an MOU, long-term lease with the rodeo grounds for that use. And there was some discussion that they would even take care of the dog park.
Mm.
So they're going, oh, yeah, that'll be good,
Okay.
you know, that would be part of it. And then they would be like any of our other parks, that somebody, like if the Harley guys wanna park up there, they would go to the MOU, go to the rodeo grounds, get their permission, and then because it's city-owned land, it comes back to city
Okay.
council. So that's kind of, I think what they're discussing.
I agree. Okay.
I don't really have any problem.
I'm trying to play devil's advocate here and think of something that could, you know, come back to bite them, and honestly, I feel like that's more encompassing.
It's kind of what it's already been used for,
Yeah.
except that the rodeo association would be the ones that would grant or deny use of that area.
And so do we have a problem with that?
I don't have a problem with it.
No.
I think it's pretty
Well,
good.
we have a reason to. They have
Well, yeah, and that's where I was like, have they burned us in the house?
No, they've been very, very good.
yeah.
Okay, revised use of city land policy to include event policy, these outlines expenses. David. Revised use of city land policy to include event policy. So he's implying that an event policy could be different from a use of city-owned land.
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to think of one. Okay. When they had the Summerfest,
Mm-hmm.
it was on the highway. That's not city-owned land, but it is an event. Same with the parade.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the difference between an event and use of city-owned land.
Well, I think there could also be use of city-owned land that isn't necessarily an event. For instance, like filming a commercial or private gathering.
When the bicyclists take over.
And that's what I was gonna say,
Right.
it's like the bike's like taking over, and
Uh-huh.
they're camping there, it's not an open to public sort of event.
No, but it's using
But it's
city-owned
using
land.
city.
Right, yeah,
Yeah,
that's
so-
more how I think of that.
So I think of more of like an event being open to the public, or open in the, like,
Public invited or
Yes.
private
or
party.
private party
Yeah.
sort of land use.
And I think also the event thing, they were talking about maybe having a family reunion with
Mhm.
200 people in the park or
Correct.
somewhere else.
Right.
It's not a public event, so,
And then also, for that matter, you won't be needing public services for that, so that's another big,
no. And because of that, he wrote, that outlines expenses or recuperation.
Okay.
mhm.
Versus
of-
an event, which would require all of the police.
Or the event sponsors taking
Cooperation.
care of all of
Yep.
that. And we can also put in police in there. How many police are
Required.
required to complete that? So that's an interesting idea. He just wants to know yes or no. I'm for that.
Yep,
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 easy.
definitely agree.
Okay, procedure to build on city-owned land, there it is. Procedure to build on city-owned land, also known as permanent use, when to have an MOU versus lease. Oh, we kind of jumped ahead, didn't we?
Yeah, we did. We're that good.
I mean, I don't like that the observatory can't be used by anybody who goes up there. They have to have someone there.
I mean, just like with an MOU with the wildlife sanctuary.
No, they
Don't have-
own that land. There's no MOU. The MOU for wildlife sanctuary is for a strip of land between the bison enclosure and the security fence.
Right, no, I get that, I'm just saying, like, again,
Different,
it is different, that's what I'm saying, is MOUs are different, right, in that regard.
yeah.
That, again, there's going to be circumstances to where the public won't have access to that city-owned land, because they can't be in that safety restricted area between.
Unless it's open.
And even if, like, again, wildlife sanctuary is dead land, but you can't go walking between this fence and that fence, unless you wanna get mauled by a bison.
Yeah, that's probably not a really good idea.
Right, not a great idea, but again, you understand like, what I'm saying with that, so, is that, not just the observatory, and granted, it'd be great if the observatory was open to public, but at the same time,
The concern for the equipment.
equipment, exactly, concern for equipment, the building, also
Can you
just
imagine what the kids can do with that
sanitation.
building?
I have teenagers, let's not talk about it.
Don't wanna go there. And
Nope.
frankly, I'm thinking about, the baseball park, they have a snack shack there, and that's locked up.
Locked up.
Yeah, so, and I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing that it's locked up, because otherwise that's just, also goes into a homeless population bit,
All right,
where,
let's talk about
But
it.
if it goes to the point where they start charging people,
that,
Then
that's
it's
gonna be-
then it's a, like you were saying, then we turn into a lease.
yeah, then we need to have a discussion.
Yeah.
And again, we go back to the difference between an MOU and a lease.
Okay.
Unless you can think of any other defining.
I can't.
Okay. Well, according to this, the last 15 minutes reserved to discuss other committee agenda items. I can't think of any.
No, no, you laid out that color-coded.
And I will I will go back to the office and print out more of these.
Oh,
yeah, that'd be great.
I couldn't make, oh, that's true. I couldn't make the words any bigger because I don't know this program. I fake it with this program, been faking with this
You
program.
did a great job. I mean,
I've
I pulled
been
it up.
faking
I
it
pulled
for
up on my
30
phone.
years. For 30 years,
30 years.
I faked this program. I don't use it, I don't originate it. Oh, that's not true, I did originate.
I mean,
one.
I got it. My tablet died.
How pretty.
Yeah, it is it's very Easter.
I did have a question on that priority table,
Yes,
and I probably just missed it, and some of it, I imagine this has to be resolved ASAP if we're moving forward on other projects. But why is downtown revitalization plan review and update the growth policy, in green versus pink?
because pink is, the first thing you have to do is review the
Yes.
state regulations.
That's the first one.
Gotcha,
You
gotcha.
can't
And
really
minimum
do
lot-
anything
and
without
minimum lot
state
size.
regulations.
And minimum lot size, so
Yeah.
those two go together.
Yep,
And workforce housing,
just because that's gonna be
to
coming
find
down.
out if that is going to be, what is the role of the planning board?
Yep, and that should be an easy conversation.
Probably use of city-owned land versus what can the planning board do?
Exceptions to
Right.
conditional
To-
use, that'd be,
Conditional use.
I mean, I think that'd be really it, and then making exceptions to density,
depending on where it is, yeah.
yeah.
And so, and then those are gonna be like right-of-way kind of things.
Mhm.
And then it goes into the meat, which is, downtown plan, the growth policy,
And then, yeah, and then that,
definition. The airport's gonna be much later.
like I said, I feel like, they're almost sequential to where one has to happen
Yeah.
before the next.
Before, yes, that's why we need to review the state
Yeah, that one
regulations
seems
to
to
see
be
where
like,
we,
are even able to do this right now.
yeah, are we okay to, and the idea of reducing our lot size to 2,500 square feet means all those half lots that the miners cut, because our lots are normally 6250.
Okay.
So the half lots that we have in town are 30, my brain's like
I
yours,
got you, yeah.
like 3,200 square feet. And we made the minimum lot size in town as 5,000 square feet.
Oh,
I know of at least one lot that doesn't get to that.
There's a few of them.
And with the flood, I know that it probably made it even smaller, so people own lots that they can't even build on. If we go with the state, we can't. Well, I mean, could we have some copies for the city council of this? It's
Yeah.
bigger.
Then, did you guys see the thing for the street signs?
No.
I was waiting for copies,
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
because they need it for public works, and I can't find my copy.
I don't have one.
I
even
don't.
know- What are you talking about?
There's a packet, and apparently Mike left it here, and
Well, what I got from,
I don't have it.
what we had this morning,
Was it in the lane? Because I left it for lane
public
six, right?
safety, yes,
For
I have
public
it.
safety. Can I just?
Is there anything else, or should we just go ahead and,
I think that we're
good?
there.
All right, I'm adjourning.
And then,
We're
take a quick break before the next meeting, but,
Well, that's where I'm kind of like, can we, give me 5 minutes?
just one thing to think on, I've read that, article